The Talking Cheeseheads on cheeseheadtalk.com.
So the aftermath of the whole Ryan Braun saga has had a chance to sink in here now for about a day and a half. And I wanted to take a little time to reflect on it a little bit more and just, talk about a few things that certainly are on my mind here. And one is the statement that Ryan Braun released, which I believe will go down as essentially, at least for the time being, until he speaks again. And the thing is, when is he going to speak again? We don't know. But for the time being, it classifies Ryan Braun strongly, I would say strongly, in the category of stooge. Okay? He's a stooge because of this statement. Quote, "As I've acknowledged in the past, I'm not perfect." That's how you open the statement. That's how you open the statement. I really probably don't even need to read more because before, I really thought before Ryan Braun had originally acknowledged the fact that he was not perfect in that press conference in Maryville, I really did think it was just him and Jesus, just him and Jesus, only perfect people. So Ryan Braun's really acknowledged the fact that he's got the same affliction as 7 billion others, and it must be tough. I can only imagine. I realize now that I've made some mistakes. You realize now, Ryan Braun, you've made some mistakes? What made you realize now that you've made some mistakes? As opposed to 2011, 2012? No? Okay. I'm willing to accept the consequences of those actions. All right. The situation has taken a toll on me and my entire family. The world's smallest violin is now here to acknowledge that with you. I'm grateful for the support I have received from players, ownership, and fans of the Brewers and around the country. Good luck on that support here for the next few months, Ryan. Finally, I wish to apologize to anyone I may have disappointed, all the baseball fans, especially those in Milwaukee and the Brewers organization, and my teammates. I'm glad to have this matter behind me once and for all, and I cannot wait to get back home and play the game I love. You really think it's behind you, Ryan? You really think it's gone once and for all? That statement is one of the most asinine I've probably ever seen. For a guy who had been so PR conscious, I don't know who advised him on that piece of crap that I just read, but pretty terrible. So you got that as the only thing we have to hear from Ryan Braun. And, we'll talk about this with Reed Roberts on the podcast as well here, but I figured as much, I've said it several times, that I thought almost assured, I was probably 99% sure that Ryan Braun used PEDs. I thought probably mainly to recover from injury, and I was thinking and maybe hoping, I will, certainly admit I was hoping that it was only, for a stretch, a period of time, or maybe when he'd get injured, he would use it to help recover. We don't know if that's the case now, and there's people saying it's not, but that's not what upsets me, okay, since Monday night. And as I continue to stew on this and think about it, I just continue to get upset at Ryan Braun and think of him as a fake, a phony, pathetic, right now. Just pathetic is probably the best word for me to describe him. A liar, clearly. It's not the PEDs, and I think this is true across Brewer Nation and Sports Nation. It's his brazen, defiant behavior in response to this thing, and just the ass he's made of himself. The complete ass he has made of himself, and of my team, essentially, right? So he comes out and brazenly denies, and it gets so old. And I have a new rule for you, and that is any time that you hear anybody coming out in any field and issuing a strong denial of anything, we should automatically assume guilt. I mean, just listen to some of the more famous ones in recent years.
I have never used steroids, period.
I've said it for 7 years. I've said it for longer than 7 years. I have never doped. If you consider my situation, a guy who comes back from arguably a death sentence, why would I then enter into a sport and dope myself up and risk my life again? That's crazy. I would never do that.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
By no means am I perfect, but if I've ever made any mistakes in my life, I've taken responsibility for my actions. I truly believe in my heart, and I would bet my life that this substance never entered my body at any point.
You'd bet your life. Nice. Nice. I just see. I understand. Like I can put myself in a situation where, at a time in my life, I might have been under pressure and made the mistake of breaking the rules and doing this stuff. But I can't. I don't understand people, and there are clearly a lot of them who come out and act this way. Paul Merrill, Armstrong, Barry Bonds, who never got caught, I guess. Bill Clinton, and Ryan Braun, and many others who are so egotistical and have. And it's not a smart or dumb thing, right? I mean, Bill Clinton's. You may not like his politics, but pretty smart guy. They're so, I don't know what it is, overconfident, cocky, power hungry, whatever it is, that they come out and do more than they needed to. Ryan Braun did not need to say, "I'd bet my life that this substance never entered my body." He didn't have to have the press conference. He didn't have to act like a complete ass for the last 2 years. And then, what makes it even more cowardly and egregious and pathetic is the news comes out, he issues that weak statement, that pathetic statement, and then he skips out of Miller Park at 3:15, leaving his teammates to speak for him. Doug Melvin having to make the rounds. Atanasio, who hasn't really said anything, but I'm sure is just, you have to peel him off the wall right now. And Ron Renicky, and the whole team, and the whole fan base, and everybody left, and he won't talk. When's he going to talk? A lot of fans would say he owes them an apology, all this stuff. Whatever. I mean, we all have our own lives. I don't dwell on Ryan Braun's misgivings. I got too much going on. But for himself, this is breaking ground because he's not Alex Rodriguez who can just now go away. He's not Lance Armstrong who had been done with cycling. He's not those guys. He is in the prime of his career. He's not even 30 yet. And he's got 8 more years. 8 years in Milwaukee. I mean, it's kind of like for the Brewers, he's like the teenage son, right? Who went out and got caught drinking or wrecked the car or something like that. And you want to kill him if you're the Brewers, I'm sure. But you're stuck with him. You're not. And at some level, I'm sure you love him for 2008 and 2011 and those other moments. But, now, for his own benefit, I think for the next 8 years, and to try and get this over with as quickly as possible. It's not going to be quick, but as quickly as possible, and to tamper it down, at least in Milwaukee, he's got to come out and actually sacrifice and take one for the team on the press conference and answer questions that are going to be very painful, and he probably can't answer all of them, I guess. I don't think there's any restrictions, but he probably won't answer all of them. But he needs to go through that. Because that would be the first step. This statement, some people called it a first step. It's not a first step. It's garbage. It's absolute garbage, and it's a joke, and it's an insult to my intelligence and anybody else who has read it. So that's what he needs to do going forward, because totally pathetic so far. Absolutely sad. And again, I'm someone who I'm not coming from an angle that, I believed every word he said at all. No, I pretty much assumed and was sure he was guilty, but I thought he would fight for it, or that he would come up with some sort of excuse when somebody is that pathetic and brazen about lying to our face and shaking the hand in our finger in our face. I guess my natural sense of decency as a human being believes that they've got something to fall back on. The truth, you'll find out the truth later. Oh yeah? Okay, I guess we just did. That's what he kept saying. 8 times he said that. Ugh. So now, just to end my getting this off my chest, 3 questions moving forward I have. 3 main questions. 1, what and when will we find out about what baseball had and what the evidence is? I gotta believe, Pedro Gomez, this is all you, baby. Get on it outside the lines. I know there's been some minor rumors or leaks, but nothing to as major as when they actually talked to Tony Bosch or Porter, whatever his name, Porter Fisher, right, from Biogenesis. This is all you, Pedro. I'm sure that was part of the plea deal that Ryan Braun wouldn't, he agreed to not fight it and be suspended 65 games if baseball wouldn't leak it, but you got to believe somebody wants to leak it. Maybe not now, but at some point here, and I'm waiting. Okay. 2, what happens on opening day next year? Which, by the way, is the next time the Brewers are going to play a significant baseball game. Okay? What happens? I'm 99.9% sure that boos will rain down in furor on Ryan Braun, as they should. But what happens after that is interesting. When the starting lineups are introduced and maybe through the first game, what if he hits a home run his first at bat? What if he has a great start in April? How quickly? I know two things right now. One, he will be booed mercilessly on opening day. Two, he will be cheered fervently at some point. Okay? And I say that assuming that his performance will be the same, which leads me to question 3. Will his performance be the same? And the reason I ask that, a lot of people assume he's going to come back and hit, over 300, 30 home runs, 30 steals, whatever. But there's some stories floating around that he's been doing this since 2005, that he's never really been without PEDs. So who is he without PEDs? A, is that story true? That ties into question 1. You see how these things relate together? And, 2, then, who will he be without PEDs? Did they help him that much? Can he perform without them? How's that going to affect his performance on the field? Very relevant question for Brewer Nation. I've seen people on Twitter and everything say, trade him. You're not trading him. Nobody's trading him. Even if they want to. Even if Mark Adonasio is so mad that he wants to trade him, who's going to take him right now? He is toxic right now. Now, a few years from now, he might not be so toxic. But right now he is. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be in the starting lineup on opening day. So those are the 3 major questions I have. And I think it'll be fascinating to watch those play out. And I'm also just annoyed, and I've lost pretty much all respect for Ryan Braun at this point. That's not to say I can't get some of it back. It's not over. He's got a long time to play. He can get something back. Hall of Fame, probably not. Any awards? I don't think so. But he can get a measure of respect back. He'll always be tainted by it, but it doesn't mean it has to be this bad. So that's what we're looking at with Ryan Braun right now, and we'll see. Reed Roberts will join us on this podcast. Again, you can go to iTunes and check out the entire podcast. He's got an interesting take on it as well. We're the Talking Cheeseheads on CheeseheadTalk.com.
The Talking Cheeseheads on CheeseheadTalk.com.